So how did Trump go from calling out globalism to actively dismantling it? Well, it started in 2017, but really took shape in 2018 when the world got a glimpse of what would later become a complete trade revolution. And it began with something simple: tariffs. That's a shocker. When Trump announced tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, 25% on steel, 10% on aluminum, the media went into full meltdown. They called it a trade war. They said prices would spike. They said jobs would vanish. But what Trump was really doing was this: testing the system. He wanted to see who blinked. Would U.S. companies adapt? Would foreign exporters retaliate? Would American allies step up or expose their dependence? And what happened? Germany panicked. The EU scrambled to avoid escalation. China retaliated, but couldn't match Trump's leverage. Their exports rely far more on access to the U.S. than we do on theirs. Canada, they responded with tariffs on ketchup and dishwashers. Trump didn't just introduce tariffs, he exposed how fragile the global order actually was. Then came NAFTA, a deal every president before him had promised to fix, but none actually touched it. Trump scrapped it. He forced Canada and Mexico back to the table, dragged them through a tense negotiation, and signed the USMCA, the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement. What changed? Tighter rules of origin. You couldn't just route products through Mexico with Chinese parts anymore. Higher labor standards, minimum wages for Mexican auto workers, leveling the playing field. Digital trade protections that never existed under the old deal. And guess what? It worked. Even skeptics now admit the USMCA was more modern, more enforceable, and a template for future trade deals. Trump showed that bilateral leverage beats multilateral obedience. He wasn't interested in joining new global systems. He wanted to use America's market access like a weapon. Let's talk about China. This is where the strategy got clear. Trump imposed hundreds of billions in tariffs on Chinese goods, targeting everything from steel to solar panels to semiconductors. China responded, but they were boxed in. Why? Because while U.S. consumers could substitute Chinese goods, China couldn't replace the U.S. market. Their entire industrial model depended on selling to America. And that meant Trump's tariffs, they had teeth. Behind the scenes, he also blacklisted Huawei, pushed allies to ban Chinese telecom infrastructure, and rewrote export rules to deny China access to critical chip-making technology. This wasn't trade policy, it was an economic containment. And it laid the foundation for what we're seeing now in Trump's second term. But here's what most people missed in the first term. It wasn't just what Trump did, it's what he exposed. NATO allies weren't paying their fair share. China never planned to reform. Canada was asleep at the wheel. Germany had no backup plan for its export addiction. And the U.S., it was far more self-sufficient than the world believed. Trump didn't destroy globalism in his first term. He just made it clear it could be destroyed. And that alone was enough to break the illusion.